Hey guys, I'm going to be going over the learning outcome regarding the reasons why we forget and in relation to our working memory and our long-term memory. We usually forget because of something called trace decay, which is essentially just saying that information tends to fade away over time. It could be due to a number of factors. For the working memory, it makes sense, especially since our working memory's capacity is about 20 to 30 seconds. So after that, the information tends to fade away. The long-term memory is a little bit more complicated. They really aren't too sure, but it's usually not that the information's lost, but that there's a retrieval issue. You know, it could be new skills learned in between now and then when you first learned that skill. So just that could be blocking learning the new one. The first kind of interference is proactive interference, which is essentially you can't remember new information because there's old information in your head still blocking it. So it's not necessarily a movement example, but the example I like to think of is for the working memory, at least, is that you can't remember your friend's new phone number just because the old phone number is still in there in your head. You just can't wrap your head around transitioning to that new phone number because that old one still they had for years. And then for the long-term memory, they aren't really too sure. It's not very well known yet, but what they have found is that you can work on your proactive interference simply just by repeating the new skill. Repetition will just help get rid of that old information you had and establish a new one in your brain. The other interference we can go over is retroactive, which is the opposite, essentially saying you can't recall old information because you've learned new information in between. For the working memory, this is usually in two situations, which is when either your capacity is maxed out, so those 20 to 30 seconds, or when the movements of the old and the new are too similar. So if you're a cricket player your whole life, but you started to play baseball, and then you try to play cricket again, it might be a little bit hard just because you've been playing baseball recently as opposed to cricket, which you play your whole life, but it's just been a while since you have. So that baseball that you learned recently is going to interfere. And then the long-term memory depends on the type of movement. Continuous motor skills are a little bit easier to recall simply because they are a matter of repetition, as opposed to discrete skills, which you only do a couple times. So like building a Lego piece or building a puzzle,